Real quick before we get into the review, just gotta thank the people over on Patreon, because without their support, a lot of this upgraded content you see on the channel would not be possible. And I gotta say, on top of being able to respond to you guys in the DMs, you know, one of the fun things about the Patreon is every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and there's a lot of good goodies in that one. You also get sneak peeks at videos that haven't made their way onto the channel yet. I'm still figuring out what to do for actual YouTube memberships, so leave a suggestion down in the comment section below. But with that being said, thank you so much for all of you guys' support, and now let's get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 216. And now that episode 216 is done and in the books, man, that moment we have been waiting for is finally here in the anime. Naruto Uzumaki, Hokage Naruto, is laying it all on the line using what is the equivalent of his version of the 8 inner gates as a Jinchuriki. And dude, I gotta say, the way Baryon mode was introduced in the anime version opposed to the manga version, the anime absolutely took this and made it a lot better. I've always said, like, yo, the anime does not have to do this, but when they redo the storyboards and they do a lot of the stuff that I critique with the manga and kind of slow down the build up and build the anticipation before the big reveal, it looks a lot better in the anime when it does stuff like that. That's where I would like to see the mangaka take that next step, because when you get to that reveal of when Naruto goes into Baryon mode, you see that huge just swarm of chakra flying to the battlefield, and the first thing that you notice is that it's a different color of chakra than what you're used to seeing with Naruto's chakra mode. And then you see Naruto's body, you see the extra additions made to the body with the chakra cloak and the new tails that have been sprouted as a result of this transformation. Then you get the slow build up to the eyes, and then you get the full wide shot of Naruto in his Baryon mode, and you get all the reactions. And do not get me started on that very beautiful moment where Naruto's Baryon mode cloak is healing Boruto, and it just shows that protective nature of Naruto as a father taking care of his child before he does anything else. And he tells his son, don't worry Boruto, I'll handle it. That's what I mean when I say the slow build up and taking your time to build towards the impact shot. The viewers who watch my manga reviews, they hear me talk about panel management so much. What you're seeing right now is why panel management is so key, because if you utilize your panels better and you use more than 3 to 5 panels per page, you're able to capture these small moments that the anime has shown you. It's not about the number of pages in the manga. It comes down to how you utilize the panels and doing more than 3 to 5, the bare minimum of what you get for a manga chapter. Adding in those extra 3 to 4 panels on the page allows you to get these emotional shots like this. I really feel like if the manga would have given you a build up like this, and you see that Naruto is at his literal last resort, and it's not just told to us like, hey Naruto, you're willing to lay it all on the line, aren't you? Well, I have this power up. No, you saw him get the dog crap beat out of him. You saw him bleeding out over those chakra cubes, unable to move, and it becomes clear that they're completely outmatched and there's nothing else left. I feel like if they would have did this in the manga and made it clear like the anime did, after all of that, and you see Naruto literally bleeding out broken, I feel like people would have accepted Baryon mode and the high cost of power that it has. So I love this right here. I love the way that this was built up. That's where the manga has to take the next step forward. But this ain't about the manga, this is about the anime. So gotta say, there were a lot of small tweaks that were made to this episode that, and for the most part, it followed the manga 1-to-1, but there were some changes. Like when you see Boruto and he's using his Rasengan to try and stop those chakra cubes from falling on top of Sasuke, that is a nice little tweak that the anime did, because originally it did not happen like that. So I have to look at it again to be sure, but it almost looked like he was using his compression Rasengan. I might be mistaken on that. But if Boruto was willing to use his most powerful and most dangerous Rasengan to try and save Sasuke, that just makes this scene so much more emotional. I like seeing that, and you get the extra expressions where you see the terror on Boruto's face and the way that Boruto's eyes are widening and the way that his face is just kind of curling up as he's screaming in agony. The same thing when you had Sasuke sacrificing himself for Boruto, where he gets filled with all those chakra rods in the manga. That didn't happen. So I thought that those were nice additions that were made for an episode that was done by Studio G-Woo, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the sub studio of Studio Pierrot. They're the same ones who worked on episode 207 where Sarada used a Chidori. I was very, very, very surprised to see the level of animation done on this episode right here. In particular, I like how they took the information from the manga and kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, Naruto was only able to hit Isshiki twice and Sasuke wasn't able to touch this dude at all. So why not just go ahead and restructure the storyboards a little bit? And I like how they did this, and it actually made Ishiki look like more of a menace. Again, this isn't on the anime studio to make these changes, but when they make these changes to the story, you get a better story being told through the action. And that's essentially what you get right here, because you have Naruto, he's rushing forward towards Ishiki, and you see how Naruto is just trying to land blow after blow and it doesn't work. You see Naruto try to use his double Rasengan variation and Ishiki just shrinks that. You see Naruto once again trying to land attacks on Ishiki. Ishiki's dodging all of them very casually. He's knocking Naruto around, and what you see right here is that Ishiki doesn't waste time. He very savagely just takes those chakra rods and starts driving them into Naruto's body one at a time. And I thought that that was a nice, very slow, but very nice addition to kind of just show you that Ishiki is more methodical of a fighter than Jigen, and Ishiki is more of an efficient fighter than Jigen. And just to clear this up, I've seen a few people confused. Jigen and Ishiki are two separate beings. Jigen was a vessel for Ishiki. Jigen had the Karma Seal. Kashin Koji killed Jigen and Ishiki was reborn. Ishiki was controlling Jigen's body. Two separate beings, and you see it in their fighting styles. Jigen relied on the Karma Seal and the ability to absorb ninjutsu. Ishiki cannot absorb ninjutsu. That's not something every Otsutsuki can do. Ishiki does not need something like that. His dojutsu shrinks ninjutsu, so in theory, that's the reason why Naruto was trying to use the Rasengan, because Ishiki can only shrink what's in his eyesight. So in theory, you can hit Ishiki with ninjutsu. It just has to be strong enough to do some damage. And I like how Ishiki says, okay, I've got you separated. One down, time to go after the other one. And what I like right here is the fact that this is once again the anime paying homage to information that is given to you in the light novels, because every Otsutsuki who has fought Naruto and Sasuke, they've all come to the same conclusion. When they fight together, it's not something as simple as 1 + 1, but instead it's like fighting an entirely different being because of their teamwork and chemistry, and the only way to take them down is to separate them. That's why Momoshiki tried to separate Naruto and Sasuke. That's directly why Kaguya separated Naruto and Sasuke in the manga. Again, reading those novels is key, but that's why I take so much time to cover these novels on the channel. That way, when you get scenes like this in the anime, you're not lost as to why certain things are happening. Now, the way you see things done differently in the anime opposed to the manga is that in the manga, Ishiki uses the cubes in order to separate them, and then he just completely bodies Sasuke the same way he bodied Rock Lee in the most disrespectful way. In the manga, he actually kicks Sasuke through a mountain. However, the fact is that those cubes in the manga keep Sage of Six Paths Chakra Mode Naruto from being able to sense Ishiki's location. Now, what the anime did is they omitted that information because it's irrelevant, because the anime showed you Naruto getting pinned down, bleeding out all over those cubes in order to properly set up the fact that this is Naruto's last resort. He has to go into was essentially the 8th gate for Jinchuriki, just to be able to even contend with Isshiki, because in the anime, Naruto's not able to land one hit on Isshiki. So he needed that extra boost just to be able to contend with them. So what I like right here is that they just showed the cubes and the quick summoning speed of the cubes, but they didn't waste time explaining how the cubes work, because for what the anime gave you, you did not need that information. So that's the difference with the anime and manga. I also thought another way the anime did a good job of just adding in extra layers of tension is while you have Boruto and he's taking the kunai and he's talking about he's going to kill himself because he knows that he is valuable to Ishiki, you have Amado explaining everything. Like, you see how earlier in the episode Kawaki is basically going through withdrawals of not having the karma seal. That's why I've said in my chapter reviews that Kawaki is a lot like a junkie. He's fiending for that fix that the karma seal gives him. Well, what you end up getting right here is Amado explains that essentially when it comes to the Otsutsuki and how they use the karma seal, one of the lower rank Otsutsuki puts their karma onto another vessel, and then that Otsutsuki gets fed to the Ten Tails, and the one that survives is the one that eats the chakra fruit. Kaguya was supposed to do this because Kaguya was lower ranked than Ishiki. She was an inferior Otsutsuki, and what you see right here is that because Boruto has the karma seal of Momoshiki, Ishiki can feed Boruto to the Ten Tails because Boruto's body right now is 80% Otsutsuki, so he can be fed to a Ten Tails and produce a better chakra fruit. Like we find out in this episode, not all chakra fruits are the same. The chakra fruit that has harvested from a planet and has been fed in Otsutsuki is the most powerful version of a chakra fruit. So I like that you get that distinction right there. So you see that there are other layers to it. So it doesn't matter who eats a chakra fruit and etc. It depends on the quality of the chakra fruit. And what I also like about this is the fact that you get, once again, the breakdown of why Ishiki and Jigen are two separate beings. Jigen was a monk. Ishiki went inside of Jigen's body, and over time he put the karma seal on him. He updates Jigen's body to being 100% Otsutsuki, but he never activates the karma to take over Jigen's body because Jigen cannot contain his full power. Well, it's because of Amado and Kashin Koji and their scheming and meddling that Ishiki had no choice but to revive into Jigen's body after Jigen was killed. That's why Boruto is so important, and Boruto doesn't have all the information, but because he's a genius, he's able to say, you need me alive. I don't know the reason why, but I know that Boro said that your timetable changed because I have the karma seal. And that's when Ishiki reveals to Boruto, I'm gonna feed you to the Ten Tails and I'm gonna eat the chakra fruit. Just as a side note, that is some beautiful art that is done right there, that again, the manga does not convey emotions and expressions very well. That's on Ikimoto right there, because the anime staff is able to accurately convey the emotion in that scene right there. You see the eyes change here. You see the spit flying out of Boruto's mouth as he's screaming. The little small things like that, the shading differences. The anime does such a better job with this right here. But with all those extra changes that are made in the way that everything is storyboarded, it's really something building towards that climax where Naruto basically tells Kurama, hey, I know it's kind of messed up. You didn't tell me you had this power for me before, where in exchange for my life, I can get this Baryon mode, which it hasn't been named yet, but that's the name of it, Baryon mode. Well, essentially, everything builds towards this moment. You needed to feel that true sense of helplessness. You needed to see Sasuke get completely destroyed because he's protecting Boruto. You need to see Naruto and Sasuke, despite all of their teamwork, they can't land a hit on Ishiki. You need to see Naruto, what's on essentially his deathbed, and Naruto make that exchange. This is a great build up, and the way that everything's executed getting up to this point, and you have Naruto in that Baryon mode right after it gets revealed that Boruto's going to be fed to the Ten Tails, and you have Naruto looking over at Boruto saying everything's going to be okay. You see the perfect struggle between Naruto as a Hokage and Naruto as a father looking at his child, knowing that I'm going to give my life in order to protect my child, but that's something I'm okay with. I like that you see that struggle from Naruto right there, where you see the parental side of Naruto really coming out, and it just makes this sacrifice that Naruto's about to make for his child, it makes that sacrifice feel so earned. And that's what you want when you start dealing with potential character deaths. And I talked about this in a video that I put up a couple of days ago titled The End of Sasuke, and I talk about why Sasuke Uchiha being killed off, why that sacrifice works, and why, which that ain't a spoiler for anime only viewers. Sasuke's not dead. I want to say that right now, but I talk about the pros and cons of killing Sasuke off, and I talk about the impact of character deaths and how the build up to the character sacrificing himself is so important. And you see that right here with Naruto, where you have this build up to Naruto making that exchange, and you see right here and there that there's going to be a real emotional sacrifice and cost for the battle, and it's going to feel earned because you know that this is somebody that is way more powerful than Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto's doing this not just to protect his village, but also to protect his child. That's why you see the conflicting natures, where Naruto says, I've been preparing for this moment from the day that I said I was going to become Hokage. If you go back to what Naruto said in part 1, this is directly referencing what Naruto said. He said he cannot die until he becomes the Hokage. And now Naruto's making that sacrifice after becoming Hokage, but the difference is he's not just doing it for his village, he's also doing it for his child. The boy who had nothing is getting ready to try and sacrifice everything for the child that is essentially his entire world, the child that made him into a man. I love just those parallels right there, and that's what I mean when I say building up towards that moment and having real emotional weight and sacrifice before you get to the actual payoff. That's the mark of good writing. This is something the anime is doing a much better job than the manga, in my opinion. So my episode question to you guys is, how do you like the build up towards Naruto using Baryon mode? Do you think that they did a good enough job of establishing Isshiki as a threat? And the second question I have is, if you're an anime, if you're a manga reader, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the events of, I believe, Boruto chapter 50? Or do you prefer what happened in episode 216, the way the anime did it? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.